Hello, everybody. This is from section 2.7 on page 153. Problem number 178 reads about consumerism. And there was a lot of head scratching in class over this one, so I thought I would give you my view on this particular problem, which is an interesting problem. We suppose that Pay-Right Rental Cars rents compact cars, not CRAS, cars for $32 a day with unlimited mileage, and that Auto Rentals offers compact cars for $19.99 per day, but charges 19 cents for each whole mile above 100 miles driven per day. So if you wanted to rent a car for 1 week, how many miles can you drive during the week if Auto Rentals is to be less expensive than Pay Rentals? Now, Pay-Right Rentals. Now, I always read my word problems backwards because, well, that's the way I am. But let's take a look at some of the key phrases in here. First of all, auto rental is to be less than expensive than Pay-Right. When we say less expensive than, of course, we are thinking about a less than symbol. So what are we saying is less than the other? Well, we want to ask how many miles can we drive? When we see that, we're asking how many X miles can we drive during the week? And we know that up to 100 miles per day, well, we already know which one's less expensive. So let's assume that X is the number of miles more than 100 per day. So over 100 per day that we drive. So what could we say? Well, whatever we want to say about this, we're going to say that our total auto rental cost, total auto cost, must be less than our total Pay-Right cost. So I'm going to write these in here. Okay, this is our total Pay-Right and our total auto cost. So we need to figure out, in terms of X, what our total cost is. Well, this is actually not so difficult. All we really have to do is we have to think, all right, if we're looking for X miles driven over 100 per day, right, whatever result we're going to get a cost per day for auto rentals, and we're going to get cost per day for Pay-Right. And if it's less per day for auto, then it will be less per day than Pay-Right. Makes sense. Well, what is our auto cost? Well, with our auto cost, we're going to be paying $19.99 per day. Now, this is cost per day, plus that extra 19 cents times the X miles over 100 that we drive per day. That cost has to be less than $32 per day. Well, this is a really simple one for us to solve, even though the numbers look a little difficult. It's really not that hard. We know that, for example, we would have to subtract $19.99 from both sides to make this one work. So we'd be subtracting $32 minus $19.99. And before you go borrowing digits or anything else, probably one of the easiest things to recognize right here is that, well, at least in my mind, here's Professor Peoples. Here's Professor Peoples' mind thinking, well, 32 minus 20, I know it's going to be 12, right? And $19.99 is 1 cent less than $20, so we'll have 1 cent left over, and our $0.19 times X miles will be less than $12.01. So now, if we wanted to divide, we're going to have to divide by our 0.19 on both sides. 0.19 dividing by 0.19 seems like a daunting task, especially with all these decimals right here. But again, remember that if we're dividing 12.01 divided by 0.19, it will be exactly the same as saying 1,201 divided by 19. So I'm going to divide my 19 into 1,201. Let's see if I can get this straight on my little setup here. 1,201. So, all right, I'm going to put my decimal up here in case I have a little bit of carryover, and I might. 19 will not go into 12, but 19 will go into 120, and I know it'll go in about 6 times, right? Because 6 times 100, 6 times 20 would be 120, so 6 times 19 will be slightly less than that. In fact, if you carry out the multiplication, 6 times 19 gives you 114. Being very careful to keep my columns straight right here. 120 minus 114 is 6, and we bring down the 1, so 19 will go into 6. How many times? Well, I know that 19 times, or that 20 times 3 would be 60, so 19 times 3 should be pretty close. 3 times 19, what does that give me? That gives me 57. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract. 61 minus 57 goes in 4 times. I need to carry down a 0. So I'm going to carry down my 0 right here and ask how many times will 19 go into 40? The answer is twice, because 2 times 19 is 38. I subtract. I'm going to bring down a subtract. That's a 2. If I put a 0 over here, 19 will go into 20 exactly 1 time. There's really not much that's going to happen with the rounding beyond that. Now, we could keep on going and keep on putting in numbers right here. We would find a 0 trailing that one, because 19 will not go into 10. So I'm going to stop right here. There's much more that we could do, but let's go with 63.21. So x would have to be less than 63.21. Talking and writing at the same time, you know how that goes. 63.21, and this is miles per day. But the question was, how many miles can we drive during the week? So we need to do a little bit of multiplication. If this is per day, we're going to have our car for 7 days. So total miles, well, let's multiply. 63.21 will be multiplied by 7. If we do that, we're going to get, let's see, 7, 2 times 7, 14, carry the 1. 3 times 7, 21, plus 1 more gives us 22. Carry the 2. 6 times 7, 42, plus 2 more gives us 44. There we go. Now what? Well, we have 2 decimal places. So that's 442.47. But is that it? Well, no, because we're saying beyond 100 miles per day. So our actual mileage, right, is going to be another, this is over the 700 total miles that we can drive without having to pay any extra with auto rentals. So we're going to add that 700. Right? This is our solution, but our actual answer is going to be found by doing this addition. 4, 7, let's see, 2, 4, 1, let's see, 4 plus 7 would be 11, 1142.47, but for the week, right, if we're going to be less, that means driving to the nearest whole mile, we're going to say our driving must remain less than 1,143 miles for the entire week. And that's our answer. I can spell, that looks like Welk. Good Lord. Am I thinking Lawrence Welk here? Am I crazy? Most likely. Week. There we go. Much better. Right? That's the answer we should give.